That means I should upgrade my gadget. So again, it's unity and coherence. And when we talked about cohesion, it's about how sentences are good with each other. Meanwhile, coherence would be about how sentences will conform to some sort of a logical flow from the top to the bottom. So, according to what we have said in Tuesday, we can't possibly put an introduction at the end of an essay. So it follows some sort of a logical flow from the beginning to the end. But of course, when drafting, okay, when you are drafting your essay, it doesn't matter where you start. Okay, as long as you have ideas regarding each point of which you're gonna make in the essay, you can start anywhere. All that matters would be how you are organizing them at the end of your drafting process. So remember, do not make first last. So spend some time at least outlining your essay. Okay, so uh, after today, I will send you a quick outline so that you could feel if you have any ideas regarding essay. So now it's the end of September. It's late September right now. I assume that you might have had something relevant to your subject cross your mind. Okay, remember it's about society and gender, so you can uh, look into that. And the logical flow, as I talked about, would conform to some sort of an hourglass structure. So when you are doing your introduction, you start from a brief background and then going all the way to introducing paper. And then in the paragraphs or the portions, you talk entirely about your own study before you move forward to the last part, the discussion or conclusion. Summarizing your ideas as well as zooming out to talk about the general issues. So today we're going to talk about how you are going to start a paragraph, or how you're going to start a sentence, and how you're going to start a essay with what we call this. But let's pick up what we have not finished talking about on Tuesday first. So what is not a paragraph? As I told you, in academic essays, it's not recommended to put one sentence paragraph. So no such thing as one sentence paragraphs. Or there would be no one paragraph sentences. Some of you would like to put to form a very long sentence, trying to impress your reader with which is embedding and so on. It's a usual strategy for your DSE or for your IELTS to show to your reader that you you can use different sentences variably. But in academic writing, we want to keep things simple. So a sentence should be simple in terms of the structure, usually with the main verb with both sides of the main verb noun phrases. Okay, so basically what we have in the subject position would be a long noun phrase. And after that sentence, starting a paragraph, you should at the same time think about how you can develop that topic inside that paragraph. And you can expect that that topic sentence would preview what is to be elaborated. And then you just like a frame of a picture. And the picture itself, it's the content naturally. And you need to have that frame, the topic sentence and the summary sentence that frames the whole idea. So that's what I'm talking about when you uh, write your paragraphs. Each paragraph should contain just one main idea, which is previewed in the top sentence. Okay, so the main idea is here. The topic sentence plays a very important part inside the paragraph because you need to tell your reader what you're going to say. So it's very similar to spoken conversations. When you talk to your friends, you will say, "I'll tell you what, I've got something funny to tell you." So this is the opener. You don't simply go and nudge your friend and say, hi, Erik. Uh, Even hi, Erik is an opener, but a different strategy. You don't just simply go forward in front of your friend and say, uh, today I eaten my breakfast, which is very delicious. Don't do that. Anytime when you start a conversation, anytime when you start a topic, you are going to have an opener. No matter it is a public speech, a casual conversation, your presentation. Yeah, remember your your presentation will an opening as well. You can apply this kind of or your mind to writing. Whenever you're going to start an essay, you need to introduce your topic. You have an opener. At the beginning of each paragraph, you have an opener. And in each sentence, you need to show to your readers clearly what you're going to say in that sentence. Similar patterning. So uh, it repeats throughout the essay at different levels. So I'm not sure whether you are good at math. I am not good at math. I am particularly fascinated by a term called fractals. Fractals are the little segments or little patterns in the nature that it keeps repeating, or no matter whether you are zooming in or zooming, the pattern is the same. So you could Google word fractals, and perhaps you can have some ideas about uh, the patterns of an essay. And then what we didn't finish is the idea that a paragraph looks like. That means you are writing differently, even inside a paragraph, when you are considering what content to put in each component of a paragraph. So if you Google a term called a chef, I hope I have uh, spelled the term. A chapter paragraph would tell you that a paragraph commonly will have five parts. So I have only 4 dots here, but basically the idea. So in this graph, in this gram, you will have, excuse me, y-axis talking about how abstract you are talking about something. So at the beginning of a paragraph, you may be covering something general first because you are introducing an idea. So, for example, you would put such as reasons, arguments, and so on. So as to tell your readers that you are going to say something relevant to that paragraph. So one of the reasons, one of the arguments, factors, and so on. And at this point, you may want to talk about some more details about your first sentence. So explanation, explaining topic center. Especially when you have a technical term in the topic sentence, a good place to define terms a little bit here as you down. So you are moving down to the more concrete examples. Remember, we are explaining terms when you are looking for definitions of a technical term. You are making things easier with examples. You are turning a technical term into something that many people will understand. And then when you move down, when you surf down the wave, so you can see it is in line with what I'm saying, concrete examples specific to the topic. So that's where you are exemplifying your ideas, your topic. Before, back up to summarize your points, to summarize your ideas with a comment or with an interpretation. With a point. Now, have a look at this graph, and you may want to jot notes. And from now on, when you are crafting your paragraphs, you might want to think or consider that as constructing a wave or waiting for a wave to come, and then you are surfing up and down the wave. Okay, so 1 minute. So let me sip my smoothie. Okay. Now, the main thing of today's tutorial. So I'm not sure whether I could call this a tutorial because still it's me talking. But if you go check Moodle, so I can see there are 23 of you inside the room. And perhaps you may like to go over to Moodle and go all the way to week 3. And you're going to have the slides for today, as well as the activity sheet that would keep you busy over again. But it's not a very difficult activity to do. And you can also see an extra chapter from Love and Humphrey about the phrases or the resources for connecting sentences. But I am not going to teach you those because I'm sure pretty much you have learned all of them. For example, when you are shifting the meaning, when you're shifting your stance, you say however, you say but, you say nevertheless, or although. When you talk about causes, effects, consequence, you would say consequently, as a result. So straightforward enough for you to look at them without having me to explain. But what I'm going to talk about today would be the strategies, as well as the grammatical forms that you can build your strategies for opening your sentences, your paragraphs, or maybe even sections, and the text, the whole essay level. Now, so let me very quickly open the activity sheet first, and then I'll move on. Yeah. Again, if you have any concerns, if you have any to say regarding the subjects, let me know. Okay. So this is the activity sheet that you have. So make sure you download it and then completed the class, you can send it to me, and I will go over the content with you next Tuesday, before the Mid Autumn Festival holiday. So we are not gonna have classes next Friday. I suppose that you should be sleeping or in after enjoying a good on the 1st of October. So here it is. I have included a whole essay from an A paper. Okay, so something that you would be writing in wealth and argumentation essay. So that means you're not going to have the same topic uh, in week 12. So it's about gender inequality in workplace by a student who got, I think she got an A for this. So I did some slight changes, but basically most of the content the text was done by her. Okay, so we have we have 3 activities. So basically, aligning with what we are going to do today. So we will have an introduction, and you need to fill in the blanks. You don't have to write the whole sentence, trying to make things easier for you guys for the holiday. And then we'll talk about how to open paragraphs. And then you will have gaps to fill in order to make sure each sentence glues with one another consistently to form some sort of unity. Okay, so make sure you have one copy, and I have put this on Moodle. Okay, so the first level of sentence openers would be sentence openers, and if you have the PowerPoints, the PDF on text organization strategies, chapter 8, you would see a sentence opener uh, with are set to provide the focus message. And remember, the sentence opener, as I said to you, would be the same as the idea of themes I told you in week 1. So the word theme is not about stories theme. Okay, so for example, the movie's themes is about I'm not sure. I'm going to watch it tonight. It's about time traveling. So it's not about that. A theme. Okay, but theme, grammatically speaking, would be the first thing that be in a sentence before the main verb. First elements before the main verb. Okay. Very easy guide for you would be to look at where the verb is, and everything before the main verb in a sentence would be a theme. And they are the focus of the message. For example, if I say, I am having smoothie now, the topic or the focus about I, because I, the pronoun I, is the subject of this action. We need to know who is doing this action. So that turns out to be. But then I can also say a story is what I'm now. So now there is a shift in the themes from I to a smoothie. Because from my perspective, I want to let you know what exactly I'm having. I am foregrounding what is significant to the writer. So that means for one meaning, you can rephrase it differently in order to foreground the things that you want to focus on. So you may also consider the function of passive voice. Uh, so before we quick break, a question for you. Hold on. Not sure if you guys are still around. So can I recall your a little bit? What are the functions of the so-called passive voice? Right? So um, the question is in the chat room. So you can leave a message of what you know, telling me what you know about passive voice. And now it's 9 o'clock. So let's have a few minutes break. When you have out it, off you go. Answer the question in the chat. Okay, so we have one view. But how? Yes, good. Making the writing formal. So this is a very practical strategy. Okay. So formal, what does it formal then? What does it do? What does passive voice do to make the writing formal? Let's say an essay is something that we call a kind of formal writing. So does it mean you have to write every sentence in passive voice? But true, this is one of the strategies. But how? Since the writers lets the important things or points become the subject in the sentence. Good. So more importantly, yeah. So that means formality, formal, good. Formal would mean putting what is important first. Very much like thinking, right? Very much like uh, thinking or presenting sophisticatedly. Straight to the point, please. If your readers, if your audience asks you, perhaps politely, that you should be more straightforward. You should be straight to the point. Don't beat around the bush. You foreground what is important first. And in writing, you should organize the important information at the beginning of a sentence. Okay. Yeah. What else? There should be at least one more use of a passive voice. So what Yan Yi and Yu Kun said would be relevant to what is at the top. So maybe there are two ways you can introduce a source outside of your text citation. So you can either say Erik or Zheng analyzed 10 students' essays. And in this case, focus will be the citation, the work that's been done by Erik. So this is more important to you. But then if you think that maybe the analysis of 10 students' essay is more important than the writer, the author himself, you might wish to switch the pick focus, the theme around by saying 10 students' essays were analyzed so that you could pinpoint what you are going to foreground. And it has a very important function that it helps you link the previous sentence, the themes of previous sentence. Remember, we have to maintain of the themes across sentences. So that's one of the strategies. So if this sentence, I mean, the theme of this sentence is not the same or does not align with the theme of the previous sentence, you might want to change the subject, or you change the theme a little bit. You shift the theme. So this is number one. And number two, look at the three sentences right here. So Erik broke a glass in active voice. So now you know who did it. Then you can shift the focus from Erik to a glass. A glass was broken, so now in passive voice. And you might find that you may not have to mention Erik in some sense. The glass was broken. So now we know some of the glass, but we aren't sure who. All we know is the glass somehow was broken by someone, but don't know who. And then in some kinds of verbs like break, you can actually say a glass broke. So it seems that the glass breaks automatically without any external force. Okay, so that means when you shift the focus of a sentence, you are also aware that the significant meaning of that sentence would change at the same time. So now, passive voice means more than just a formality or a form that would make your writing more technical or impersonal. So of course, it is, but then you are also aware that it's a way to shift focus. Okay, 1 minute for consolidating the idea. So if you have a book with you or a tablet next to you, you can jot some notes. I'm sure it's better than waiting for the recording because it usually takes longer than you expect. Okay, so let's move on. So here is the introduction of a journal article about social support. So he, in this passage, comes at the beginning of the sentences with very. So very quickly, let's have a read the passage. So social support has in recent years received a considerable attention in social gerontology, so study of old people, as well as other related disciplines such as psychology, social policy, and social medicine. So things that are highly relevant to your fields. So no matter it's social studies, psychology, and perhaps policies, governance. It's because social support has been seen as an important determinant of psychological well-being among older persons in Western and Chinese societies. It appears to influence their quality of life and service demands, and older adults who are embedded in supportive social networks have been found to enjoy better physical and mental health than older persons who do not maintain meaningful ties with others. Studies on mortality, deaths, and morbidity, being sick, provide especially compelling findings in this respect. From a classic source, noted that people who reported more social ties with friends and organizations lived up to 9 years longer than those who had no or fewer ties. Social supports received by older persons include support both formal and informal systems. This paper focuses principally on informal social support system, that is, those provided non-official sources stemming from family, friends, neighbors, and community. So that means just this introduction is that the more friends you, okay, the closer you are with your families and friends or the community in a broader sense, the longer you live. So let's bear this in mind. Make more friends. So now you will see there are what we call simple themes in the action. So the simple themes, of course, would be those that are before the main verbs of the sentences. So the simple themes would be just the nouns, the nouns. No matter how long or how short. Here you will see social support would be the main thing. It a reference word in a pronoun to refer to the same thing. Means you don't have to keep repeating the focus topic term. You don't say social support has received considerable attention and then social support appears to influence the quality of life, blah, blah, blah. Apart from that, you can also see longer noun phrases, older who are embedded in supportive social networks. So remember, you are going to be able to, you're expected to be able to form longer noun phrases to cover things in the theme. So now you know one of the function of long noun phrases would be to pack more information in the themes so that you can tell more clearly to your readers what it is in that sentence in particular. without having the reader to read the whole sentence. So now you know this sentence is about older adults who are embedded in supportive social networks, and you don't have to wait to read after read past the main verbs. And then you have studies on mortality and morbidity. So you don't say researchers analyze mortality and morbidity. Instead, you pack everything before the main verb provide. You say studies on mortality and morbidity. Then you can also see that usually when we write sentences, we usually would have actors. The ones who do the action would use the verb, would take actions in the verb. But then when you form noun phrases, sometimes the agents or the actors doing the action would disappear. So who study mortality and morbidity? Social scientists. Okay, social scientists maybe, so or social sociologic researchers, but you will hide them. Okay, or maybe there are some. So, for example, like social supports received by older persons. So they are not the ones who do the action, but instead they take the action. And then you will see the paper focuses principally. So now, when you are introducing your essay, you simply put forward the essay. So without saying I focus principally on. So it's different from presentations. In presentations, you can say, in this presentation, we are going to investigate blah, blah, blah. Or I would argue things like that. So that would apply in spoken academic text. But in writing, they're not using I, because the focus should not be on you as a writer, but should be the topic that you want to focus on. So here are the simple themes. And you also have complex themes too. For example, this comes from the same introduction, but basically the idea is when you have a connective before the subject, you also consider the connective part of the theme. In this case, however, this claim may not be valid. That means when you put however at the beginning of the sentence, you want your readers to know, are going to shift your position from the position that is held in the previous parts of the paragraph. Now you want to change it. That's why you are putting however first. So everything comes with a reason. A lot of times, I would say a lot of times, everything would come with a reason. So you put forward however because you want to know, want your readers to know you are changing directions. The second case would be when you put a prepositional phrases telling time, location, manner, etc. You also put forward of a highlight you want to focus on. Okay, it says from a classic study, it was noted that people who reported more social ties. So you want to focus on the study. Okay, or maybe put it simply, this is one of the common strategies that writers would use when they highlight the studies. You say according to blah blah blah, or from a classic study, and then you talk about that. But the easier way to do this, to form a sentence, would be a classic study noted that. Or maybe you cite directly, maybe Philippe et al. I hate my computer right now. Yeah, I guess we're back. Yes. Thank you. So again, when you want to highlight what should be come forward in the sentence, it does not have to be packed in the the subject position. You don't have to put it in the simple theme. You can put it inside a prepositional phrase. But of course, you can always consider an easier way to do it. But in some cases, especially when you are talking about time, for example, you are describing a brief history of Hong Kong, let's say. You will put a lot of prepositional phrases at the beginning. So let's say in 1960, and blah, blah, blah. And then after 1983, you will do a lot of prepositional phrases at the beginning of a sentence in order to tell the readers clearly the timeline. Okay, so this is when something happens in 1960. Instead, you say in 1960, something happened. And some other things happened after 1983. You say, after 1983, Erik was born. Okay? Bad news for you. But then, aside from prepositional phrases, you can also consider putting adverb clauses at the beginning of a sentence. So like this one, when this type of work is not legalized, it may indirectly promote violence towards the sex workers. So in this case, before the it will be a legalizing okay, so it's a replacement of not legalizing sex work. So you could say not legalizing sex work. So this is what we discussed on Tuesday, another paper about legalizing sex work. So you could have said, not legalizing sex work may indirectly promote violence towards the sex workers. But you may also say, if you wish to expand things a little bit. So we have talked a lot about compacting, putting things in noun phrases, making things more concise, and so on and so on. But actually, in academic writing, there are times that you can expand the sentence. So you move from not legalizing sex work to a separate clause, a dependent clause in this case. Like this one. When this type of work is not legalized, makes it easier for readers to read. When you are moving down the paragraph, serving down the wave. So this is where we usually, what we usually find inside the paragraph, not at the beginning of the paragraph, not at the end of the paragraph, but inside the paragraph. When you expand meanings inside a paragraph. All right? So 1 minute for you to digest what I have said. And you might also want to bear in mind these strategies before we move on, because what we're going to say, it's about how we are patterning, how we are forming cohesive ties among sentences in a paragraph to maintain the unity of the paragraph.